Welcome to our next template. We're going to apply the same template of 8 steps to another part of davening. We'll take Nitilas Yadayim for washing hands in the morning. Baruch Ata, write out the whole bracha on your flip chart, your board, your smart board. Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokeinu Malach HaOlam, Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al Nitilat Yadayim. That was step 1. Step 2, let's touch every individual word. Baruch, increased. Remember, we covered this in detail in the earlier part of Living Tefila, where we looked at the key vocabulary, one of the building blocks, I think it was number 4, of building blocks of Tefila. And the first word we looked at was Baruch, so we looked at much more detail. I'm not going to cover it now, but Baruch Ata, increased you. And we talked about then what's increased about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has no volume. He's not a physical entity. Has no measure. Baruch Ata, increased is my appreciation of you, my perception of you, my admiration, my love for you. When I recognize you are Yud Kei Vav Kei, Elokeinu, our power. I don't want to do this again now because we covered all those words right up to Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. So we could really shoot right to Al Nitilat Yadayim, but I'm just going to give you the simple touch for the sake of this step, which is write the individual translation of each word with the words that you put up on the board. Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu, our power of all powers. Yud Kei Vav Kei, constant, always was and will be. Elokeinu, our power. Elokim is power of powers. Elokeinu, our power. Asher Kiddushanu. Asher, we learned, is a language of Ashrei. It's happy. You happily. Kiddushanu, made us special. Doesn't mean holy. It's not a bad translation, just not what Chazal say. Chazal say Kodesh means mufresh, muvdal. Asher Kiddushanu, who separated us, made us unique. How? B'mitzvotav, with his instructions. V'tzivanu, and instructed us. Al, on. Children might say about or in reference to Netilat Yadayim. So that's probably the only word that the kids may not have in their vocabulary till now, but they probably will say washing your hands. Al, on. Netilat, lifting, that's another taich. Netilat can also be raising, same idea as lifting. Yadayim, hands. So in step 3, identifying any words that are new, I'm assuming that the word netila might be a new word for them, but if they already know it, that's great. We'll touch it right now. Netilat, lifting, that's another taich. Netilat can also be raising, same idea as lifting. Step number 4, let's string it together. Let's create a reasonable, readable sentence out of this entire line. So increased is my appreciation of you, the constant power of all powers. Melech HaOlam, King of the universe. Asher, who happily, Kiddushanu, made us special, unique, b'mitzvotav, with his mitzvahs, v'tzivanu, and he instructed us, al Nitilat Yadayim, on the raising / washing Yadayim of hands. So that's going to be our readable sentence. And now step number 5 is, do you have any questions on the spelling or the grammar or the structure of this readable sentence? And just help guide them if there is anything that's actually glaring. So let's figure this out together. Baruch Ata, do you have any questions on that? And if they don't, you can ask. And it's the classic question. When you speak to royalty or the Rosh Yeshiva or the Mashgiach, do you say you or do you say the Mashgiach, the Rosh Yeshiva? If you spoke to the Queen of England, would you say you? Or would you say Her Majesty, Her Royal Highness? If you spoke to the President, would you say you, or would you call him by third name title, the President? Would the President like a cup of coffee? You don't speak you. It's not respectable. So how come Chazal, Baruch HaKodesh, actually legislated us to talk this way. Get the kids to figure this out. Is that a question? Yes or no? What's the answer? Now that might not be for now, but right now we're collecting the questions. The answer we know is because Hashem wants us to be intimate with Him, so He wants us to have a direct relationship with Him. It's dafka you. It's dafka ata. He wants to take away all the barriers of titles and everything else. He wants us to be intimate with Him. That's the answer. But right now we're collecting. Do you have any questions on either the spelling or the grammar or the structure of the sentence? So yeah, in the structure of the sentence, it doesn't sound kovadik to say ata. Okay, what does Baruch mean? Increased. Increased of what? As Hashem has no volume, no measure. And that's where you get into that discussion. If the kids have already covered these points, because we did talk about it in the earlier presentation, but now we're talking about nuts and bolts in the classroom when you're actually teaching how to learn together with the children living tefillah. We're not talking about davening yet. Davening we've covered in the previous DVDs. We're talking about now how do you do, if you want to call it a template for learning how to learn the words of davening. So that once the kids have covered these templates and then you add on that to their regular davening, hey, they're going to be saying words that they've already learned, explored, investigated, and come to discoveries and insights and understanding, and maybe even learned something that they were machadish and it's really a rishain or an acharain, and oh my gosh, I'm dialoguing with great tzaddikim, giants in Torah. So you're giving the children a direct relationship to tefillah by having them engaged in it. Okay, so are there any other questions you have? We'll discuss Baruch, Ata, Hashem Elokeinu, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei Elokeinu. We've covered all that in the previous DVD, so I'm not going to cover it now. Asher happily, Kiddishanu, made us special. How do you make us special? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'mitzvaysav. You know what sets us apart from all the nations? Our mitzvahs, tefillin, kashrus, Shabbos, Yom Tov, mezuzah, shofar, mikvah. There's so many mitzvahs that set us apart, whether they are the chukim or whether they are daily mitzvahs, whether it's tzitzit, Yom Tov, Shabbos is a massive one. Bris Milah, there are so many mitzvahs which set us apart, but it's the mitzvah itself that you have set us apart. Kiddishanu, you made us special, unique, different, completely different. Vitzivanu, and instructed us. Al Nitilat Yadayim. Do you have any questions on Al Nitilat Yadayim? Why is it Nitila? Do you take your hands? Nitila has three meanings essentially. It means take. It can also mean lift, elevate, and it can also mean, well, we conventionally say it means washing, even though sometimes you will find that translation, it doesn't literally mean that. It means either take or lift, elevate. So what are we doing washing our hands? Why? That's a simple question. It's not based on the grammar or the structure, but what are we thanking Hashem for over here? Just posh pshat questions, really. Get those questions out. If you want to discuss it now, you can, but the main thing is get the minds of the children working, get the minds of the kids ticking, get the minds of the kids paying attention to the details of the words, the structure of the sentence that we are now looking at. So step number 6, I do believe comes after 5, is we're going to ask the class to come up with how many messages, how many parts are there to this one sentence. So Baruch Ata might be 1. Line number 2, Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam. Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvosav is number 3. Vetzivanu, and instructed us, might be number 4. Al Netilat Yadayim, on the washing of hands. So you'll have 5 lines there, 5 messages. And now step number 7, you'll compare what's in message number 2 that's not in number 1. What's in message number 3 that's not in number 2 and 1. What's in line 4 that's not included in 3, 2 and 1. So our question now is, what is number 2 adding to number 1 that's not in number 1? Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam. Well, it's not contained in Baruch Ata. It's a qualifier. It's telling us who Ata is. Okay, so I do need line number 2. What about line number 3? Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvosav vitzivanu. Is there something there that's being added to number 2 that's not in number 2 or in number 1? Have the kids go through this very quickly. Only take a few seconds. The whole class can participate in this. Put the hand up or say, no, I need that there. Or we don't need to cover this every time because we've covered it in other brachas. So we can go straight to Al Netilat Yadayim. Then you go to Al Netilat Yadayim. Okay, what is Al Netilat Yadayim adding or telling me that I don't have from all the others? Well, it's really homing in, isn't it? It's coming. These are my answers, but you want the kids to come to this. After it says, Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvosav, He made us unique, special with His instructions, with His mitzvahs. V'tzivanu, and instructed us, ... Which of the Tariq mitzvahs are we referring to? Because you got a gamut of 613 mitzvahs, not including the small print. Thousands and thousands of details, tens of thousands of details. So what are we thanking specifically, or saying our appreciation for you is increased because of this specific mitzvah? So it's going from Tariq mitzvahs all the way down to Nitilas Yadayim. Okay, which one of the mitzvahs is that? So interestingly, it's not per se one of the Tariq mitzvahs. It's a drabanan. Okay, so let's make that clear. Okay, so that's step 7. Go through it very quickly. This does not need to take a long time. It took me longer to explain in Moita'ani, where we're introducing this for the first time. But really, it's a very simple template that you can go through very quickly, very efficiently. Get the kids' minds really rolling, really thinking. Okay, step number 8, platform questions. We've created a platform out of the 7 first steps. Now, step number 8, we're going to ask questions that will springboard off the platform we've created. So, for example, we have identified that out of Tariq mitzvahs, we're saying thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for this particular mitzvah, Al Nitilas Yadayim. It's a Rabbanan, it's not Deraisa. However, let's ask ourselves, what are we thanking Hashem for over here? What are we appreciating Hashem? What are we saying that our appreciation is increased because of? Oh, Al Nitilas Yadayim. So we're thanking Hashem for what? The washing of our hands? Okay, what's that about? Get the kids to answer. Are we being grateful for our hands? Yes or no? Can you wash your hands without your hands? No. Oh, so are we indirectly being grateful for our hands? Yes or no? Yes. And what would happen if Chas v'Shalom we only had one hand? How useful would it be? It wouldn't be very handy. It wouldn't actually be handy at all. And what happens if Chas v'Shalom our hands are tied? Try it maybe as an experiment for 20 minutes. Ask for a volunteer in the classroom to allow his hands to be tied. You might need a permission slip signed by the parents for this. And for the next 20 minutes, he's limited. After the 20 minutes, you then untie him and tell him, please tell us what life was like without the use of your hands. What were you not able to do that you take for granted? And the kid will share with you the limitations he had in getting up from his seat, sitting down, getting something with both his hands instead of one hand, how clumsy it is, how awkward it is, how immobile he is because of that. Get the kid talking and get the kids realizing, oh my gosh, I really rely on my hands. What else do we do with the hands? Talk about it. What do we need water for, which we're intrinsic part of this bracha? And we'll talk about rivers. We'll talk about rainfall. We'll talk about, you need water for washing. You need water for cleansing. You need water for hydroelectric plants where you've got electricity because of water. What else do you need water for? Transportation. Get the minds of the kids constantly working over here and realize we're being grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yes, for washing our hands after waking up in the morning to remove the tumah. We're saying Al Nitilas Yadayim because we're washing our hands for bread. And what's that about? Okay, Zeichel mitzvah of Achilas Tumah. You get the kids asking questions, you ask them questions, but the idea really here is to open up. What are we grateful for? What are we thankful for? What are we praising Hashem for? What are we asking, if there's any asking over here? Next platform question is beside the messages, which so far we say, gratitude for hands, gratitude for water, and all the many different uses for water. Here's an interesting question. Kids, you've been learning Tariq mitzvahs. Which Tariq mitzvahs have water in them? Come on, let's go. A mikveh has water. So anyone who's tameh, a zav, a zava, a nida, mitzayra, tumas mates. You need a mikveh. Okay, water. Where else do you have water? Good. Every carbon mincha was made of flour and water. Very good. So you couldn't bring the carbon mincha without water. Where else do you have water? Very good. All the kehanim in the Beis HaMikdash had to wash their hands and their feet. Rechitzas yadayim v'raglayim was with water from the kiyah, from that special basin in the Beis HaMikdash. Excellent. Where else do you have water? The saita. That's right. A lady who's been accused of adultery, she has to drink mei saita, the waters of the saita, where Hashem's name is kind of erased inside this cup of water, which is made of kli cheres and dirt taken from the ground from the Mishkan or the temple area. So you need water for mei saita. Where else do you have the mitzvah of water? Yom Kippur service, the Kohen Gadol was tovel in the mikveh 5 times. He washes hands and feet 10 times. Very good, you remember that very well from the Mishnah in Yuma. Where else do we have water in Tariq mitzvahs? Get the kids thinking. And if they don't know, ask them. The korban minchas kayin that was brought every day, that you're not allowed to eat, but you had to add water to it. Oh, the minchas achayta had water with the wheat. Oh, what else did you have water? Oh, you needed water with the mincha of the kayin gadol that was brought every day that he did eat. Oh, what else did you have water? A lot of these in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, and the kids might not have come to these mitzvahs, but open up their minds. We've got water all over the place. Where else do you have water? Well, you have Tefila Geshem, but that's not one of the Tarek mitzvahs. Where else do you have water? The korban lechem atamid that was brought in the Beis Hamikdash, they had 12 loaves of, actually it was matzah. Most of the korban minchas were matzah, by the way, so it wasn't actually bread in the conventional sense. It wasn't a loaf of bread. But the korban lechem tamid, that was matzah. There were 12 of them. What else? Oh, you also had the shtei lechem brought on Shavuos. That was also with water in it. Where else do you have water? And just keep the kids until they exhausted. I think it's about 14 mitzvahs, deraisa, in the Torah that are listed that you need water for. So there are 14 mitzvahs in the Torah that you can't do without water. There are others also that are more indirect, but for example, you don't drink on Yom Kippur. So okay, but you don't need water for that. You mustn't have water. That's all. So that would be more indirect. But there's 14 total, I think, round about that. Okay, what other platform questions could you ask? Where do we see that we're grateful to Hashem for water on the timeline? Well, so one kid will say, oh, Kriyas Yamsuf, very good, Hashem split the sea. Where else do you see where we are grateful for water? Oh, Makas Dam. Oh, that's true, the water turned to blood. Okay, so the whole commemoration of Yitziat Mitzrayim and all the 24 mitzvahs in the Torah that are related to Yitziat Mitzrayim and Pesach are also related to the Makais, because that was part of Yitziat Mitzrayim. And the first makkah was water turning to blood. Excellent. Where else do you see water? Oh, the marble. Very good. You got the marble. Where else do you see water? Oh, Adam Arisham praying for water to come down so that all the earth would grow. The soil would give of its produce and man would be able to survive because of rain. Where else do you see water? And you just keep asking the kids, where on the timeline do you see water? So some will say, okay, Yidden were drowned in the Second World War amongst different other terrible ways that we were killed. But have the kids just open their minds and realize water is everywhere and it's on the timeline. It's in Tariq mitzvahs. It's in our lives. It's in our daily lives. Jews who are always very makpid on cleanliness, that we have to wash our hands before eating for bread. And we have to wash our hands. They should be clean even before Nitilat Yadayim, because if there's dirt on our hands, that has to be washed off, and then our hands dried, and then we do Nitilat Yadayim. We use water to remove tumah from our hands when we wash our hands in the morning. We use water of the mikveh to remove the tumah on us. Some Jews go Erev Pesach, Erev Yom Tov. Some Jews even go every Erev Shabbos. Some even go every single day. And talk about it so that children understand that mayim, waters, are part of Hashem's beautiful creation to give us cleanliness. How much of the body is made up of water? Whoa, about 2/3 to nearly 90%. Yeah, everything's water. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's signature throughout creation that I am the one who gives you the life force, water, to exist, to survive. So how do we show Hashem our Hakaras HaTov, our gratitude for that? Every single day we make the bracha al Nitilat Yadayim. Thank you, Hashem, for water. Don't take it for granted. Thank you, Hashem, for our hands. Don't take them for granted. Thank you, Hashem, for my hands that I can eat with, and I'm washing my hands yet again as cleanliness and also as zeicha for the remembrance of the mitzvah of truma, which could only be eaten but tahara. And even though we're not kohanim, or most of us aren't, we're doing this in remembrance that when the mitzvah comes back, that you can only eat truma but tahara when you're a kohen. We're doing mitzvahs now in order not to forget the mitzvahs that will be returned to us when the Beis Hamikdash is rebuilt. So we have a munah in Hashem's Tchias HaMesim and the coming of Mashiach and Kibbutz Galias and the building of Bayis Shlishi. So in the bracha of Al Netilat Yadayim, which is a bracha d'Rabbanan, the Tarek mitzvahs related to it are really many. There's a mitzvah of emunah, obviously. There's mitzvah of tefillah, because it's really a praise. There's so many things that you can build a child's expanding mind based on one simple bracha, so that when they're saying this bracha every single day, even if they're not having kavanah for everything that we've talked about, they still know there's depth, there's meaning, there's relevance. I'm not just saying words to get out of the way, and I can't wait till I leave yeshiva and I drop all of davening, Chas v'shalom. No! We've spent time deliberately understanding the meaning of the words and their relevance in our lives. How many Tarek mitzvahs are related to it, where it's on the timeline, and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu put water inside the Bria for our existence and our survival. These are the different ways that we can help this template become a platform for our children to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Tefila. Another example where water is in Tarek mitzvahs is in the mitzvah of Hakravas HaKarban. When you brought a carbon in the Beis HaMikdash, there were 12 steps. One of those 12 steps after Shechita and Kabbalas Adam and the sprinkling of the blood was the cutting up of the Ivarim and then the rinsing of the Ivarim and the insides of the animal that was in a special area of the Beis HaMikdash. So that rinsing was with the water. You guessed it right. Oh, so you needed water in that process of bringing a carbon. And that goes for almost every single carbon. Not the carbon mincha, where you had water mixed with the wheat flour, and in some cases with barley, but you had to have water in the Beis HaMikdash. Another mitzvah where you've got water in Tarek mitzvahs is on Sukkot, with Nisuch HaMayim on Chag HaSukkos, the pouring of the water on the Mizbeach at the time of Chag HaSukkos. So you got a lot of mitzvahs related to water, that we can't do the mitzvah properly, b'shleimus, in its completion without water. So every day we thank you, Hashem, for water. So another example on the timeline where you might find a child will say, there's water in the Midbar. Oh yeah, where was that? Well, the well of Miriam. That was a rock that was actually round, and it was kind of like a sponge and it had lots of holes, and it would roll wherever the Bnei Israel were traveling. And when we stopped, it stopped, and water miraculously would come out of this round rock, and the water would divide into 12 large rivers, and those rivers would then demarcate all the area of the 12 Shvatim. And the Shvatim actually transported themselves by going through this river to each other. That's how they visit each other. And then these 12 streams or large rivers actually then subdivided into tributaries, and they went to every single individual tent. So that every tent, all you have to do is go outside your tent and you could collect water from this small tributary that came off the larger river, of which there were 12. The Be'er of Miriam traveled with us in the Midbar. So that would also be an example of water on the timeline. So once you've got the kids knowing how to do this template, they will then mark down on their graph, remember the name at the top, and the words Al Nitilas Yadayim, any messages that they got from the class discussion on this, and then any questions they might have that are unanswered, that we will either discuss in the classroom with the Rebbe, or he'll research, or take them once a week, once a month, to the Rav of the community, or Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva, to ask the questions too. Make sure you email them beforehand, or give them the questions beforehand so they've got some time to prepare. In many cases, they may not need to prepare, but if they came up with questions that you can't answer, it's a possibility that they'll stump the Rosh Yeshiva or the Rav of the Shul too, which would only give the kids perhaps even more sense of, hey, my mind's really thinking, I came up with a question that's not so easy to answer.